Hello, this is Patrick with Lone Wolf Software, and this is a quick little tutorial to give you some tips and tricks to adding maintenance records and satisfying maintenance requirements in Automotive Wolf. And what you see on your screen right now is Automotive Wolf. We have the What's Due tab selected for the sample Mazda RX-7. You see some of the requirements that are due for this vehicle. We haven't really kept up with the vehicle recently, so we have a lot of things that are due. On this side, we have some of the gauges that we've configured for the vehicle to display for some of the requirements. And if you look over here on the left side, these are the three filter gauges, and we can see that the air filter is in red and the oil filter is in red. So we have two requirements here that are currently due. So we're going to go ahead and satisfy both those requirements. And I'm going to show you how to satisfy multiple requirements with by just adding one maintenance record and adding some parts and linking an invoice, things like that. So we'll go through the process. It's very simple, and we'll start that right now. So right now, as I said, we have the Mazda selected. So there's several ways to satisfy a requirement when it's due. In this case, we have the What's Due tab, but you could just click on the Maintenance tab, click on the Add button, and then you can select from all the requirements that are currently enabled for the vehicle and just choose the oil change, oil and filter. And that's one way to do it, and a lot of people like to do it that way, and that's fine. But today we'll go back to the What's Due tab, and we'll just use the What's Due list, which is kind of the way I like to do it. Now again, this is showing you what's due right now on the vehicle. So if you find the oil change, oil and filter requirement, right click on it, and from the pop-up menu, you can simply select Satisfy, select the requirement. And that's one way to do it. In this case, I'm just going to find the gauge. This is another way to do it. So if you just click on the gauge, and we can see it's anything here on this side of the gauges, anything that's in red tells you right away it's due or overdue. Green means it's okay. Yellow, the gauges reflect the current condition of the requirement and how close it is to being due. So we'll choose the oil change and then right click, and then again, satisfy, select the requirement. So then you see pop up the maintenance window where you actually add maintenance items for the vehicle. And we see the odometer's already been filled in, but we're going to change that because this is the predicted odometer, what it thinks the current odometer is at. You have an actual and a predicted odometer. Predicted odometer is just a way for Automotive Wolf to predict when things are due. If you haven't opened the software in a while, it'll slowly increase the odometer on it according to your driving habits. So in this case, whenever you reset it, it automatically also resets the actual odometer, which is the last odometer that was entered. So right now, we're going to say this vehicle is at 200,000 miles. So anytime in any window in Automotive Wolf, if you see something in red, you can click on it to open a number pad. So we'll do that, and we're going to reset. We're going to say this vehicle is now at 200,000 miles. Click OK. We see 200,000 is in there. And we see it under the description, since we selected the oil change, oil and filter requirement, that's already been filled in for you here. So this is a requirement that's currently being satisfied and will be rescheduled for you automatically after we add this maintenance record. So in comments, we're just going to leave that blank. We don't need to add anything. So we're going to go through this. I'm going to show you how to add parts and link some additional maintenance requirements, etc. So right now, we have the Parts tab, and you have different tabs here you can click on, link additional maintenance, invoice, etc. Click on the Parts tab, click the Add button, and from this drop-down menu, it'll show you any parts that you've added previously for this particular vehicle, and click on that. We see some of the parts for the RX-7 that are available that have already been added to the parts list, probably from previous records that were added. It automatically saves and compiles a parts list for you as you add repairs and maintenance items for the vehicles. So we're going to say that we use the Castrol GTX 10W30. Since we're selecting something that was already in the parts list, you can see some of this information, part number, price, etc. has already been filled in. You can change any of these things for this particular record, which is what we're going to do now. So it doesn't just require 1 quart of oil, it requires 5. So click on the quantity, select 5, check mark, and you see that we now have 5 quarts of the Castrol GTX. Click OK, and you can see that it's been added to your little parts list that's displayed here. And in the parts cost charges parts column, you see the charge is $17.45, which is just 5 times $3.49. So this has already been summed for you, and also the total has also been summed. So now we're going to, since it's an oil change, we'll choose an oil filter. So click on the Add Parts button again. We'll find the oil filter for we're going to say it's a K&N oil filter for the RX-7. There it is right there. We don't have a part number. We don't need to fill that in right now. 1 is fine, and we have the price filled in. Click OK. Now you see the K&N oil filter shows up, and again the parts have been updated, the cost as is the total cost for this record. So in this particular case, we're going to also satisfy this air filter replace requirement. So let's go ahead and add an air filter also to this maintenance record. So again, we'll click on the parts list one more time, and we'll choose the air filter for the RX-7. Again, information is already filled out. We just need one. Click OK, and again, it's been added to your parts list for this particular maintenance record, and the parts and the sum total have all been updated for you automatically. Everything's done for you automatically. Now let's say we want to link some additional maintenance, and since we're adding an air filter, if you click on the Link Additional Maintenance tab, click on the plus button, you see a window here where you can link any of the enabled requirements for the RX-7. So all of these requirements on the left side are requirements that are currently enabled for the vehicle, and that's determined by how you configure the vehicle. You can enable, disable, modify requirements. All these are the requirements that are currently enabled and you can select from. So we're doing the air filter, so we'll go up here and we'll select the air filter replace. We'll add it, and we'll also say, since the oil is being changed, let's go down to the oil. The check level, that's going to be also satisfied. So we'll add that. So we have two requirements that are linked to this one maintenance record. So we're going to be satisfying both the oil change and the air filter change, and the oil check level. So we're adding these two requirements. So all these things will be satisfied for you in Automotive Wolf. Click on the OK button, and you see they show up now in your linked items list. So when you do this, everything is rescheduled for you for all the linked items too. So when we actually add this record, the oil change requirement and the air filter change requirement and the oil check level requirement will all be satisfied in the maintenance record and rescheduled for you into the future according to the parameters that you have configured for those particular requirements. In the case of the oil change, I believe it's every 3,000 miles. So since we're adding this record at 200,000 miles, you're going to see that it's going to be automatically rescheduled at 203,000 miles. And the same for the air filter, except that it'll use its particular parameter for how often you want to replace the air filter. So we have the parts list here. We have the link additional maintenance done. And we'll go ahead and add an invoice. So anytime you go to the parts store, you might get receipts. You can scan those in and link it to the maintenance record. Or in lots of cases, you go to a repair shop, and of course you get an invoice or repair order, and you can just scan that in and save it as an image file, JPG or whatever, and you can link it. I would recommend you keep all your images. This is definitely a tip. Keep all your images that you link to any of the records in Automotive Wolf. Try to keep them in one folder so they're all organized in one folder. Create a folder under the Automotive Wolf folder. Call it invoices or whatever you want, and just save all your images there. Makes it easy, keeps them organized, and it just makes it a lot simpler. So I already have a sample invoice saved on the computer, so we'll just click on the plus. We have the invoices attachments that is currently selected, so click on the add button. And, oops, I have the wrong thing here. Invoices attachment. There we go. Click on the add button, and now we can select this add invoice image button, and in this case we have it in the pictures folder. As I said, I would recommend you create a specific folder for all your linked images. Click on it, select open, and we can stretch this window out. So you can see now that this is the invoice that we're going to link to this record, and we can go ahead and click OK. Now you can add multiple invoices, multiple receipts. You can so we're going to click OK. That'll add this one, but if you want to add another one, just click on this again, and you can select as many as you like. So you can add multiple invoices, etc. We're going to click OK, and now you see the path to the file, the sample invoice, is now added to your invoices attachments list. So we have an invoice attached, we have linked additional maintenance, and we have a parts list. Everything's been added for this maintenance record. We're satisfying at least two requirements. And we'll go ahead and just add a labor charge because we had our next door neighbor do this for us. Right, did it for $20. He's a good guy. Add that, and now we see everything's been updated for you in the total section. So $78.39 for this particular record. And when we click OK, this is going to be added automatically to your vehicle maintenance log. All these requirements, these two requirements, are going to be updated in your vehicle maintenance log. So everything is going to be rescheduled for you. And you'll see these gauges go back to green, of course, because they're being reset because you're satisfying these requirements. So let's click OK. And you see both gauges have reset to green automatically. And since we're in the what's due list, if you find those requirements here, air filter is also now green, and you can see it's been rescheduled to 2012 miles. And the oil, because it's got a different configuration parameter, the oil change parameter was 3,000 every 3,000 miles. Since we added a record here at 2,000, you can see it's automatically been rescheduled for 203,000 miles. So everything there worked perfectly, and you've got this maintenance record. You've satisfied the requirements, and when they're due again, these gauges, of course, will turn red. Now, if you go back to the maintenance tab for the vehicle, so we see the vehicle maintenance log, you see that there's a new entry at 200,000 miles with today's date. And if you double click on it, you'll see, you can edit the record, and you'll see the parts that were added are here, the additional maintenance is there, and the invoice is there. And if you double click on that, you can actually see the invoice by just clicking here, and this is the invoice that we linked earlier. So you can look at the invoice you can edit the record, and you can take another look at the invoices if you're going back and seeing what was done before. Everything's linked, everything's available for you there. So you can, review the invoices or the receipts, and you can see everything that was added for this particular maintenance item. So we'll just click cancel since that's done, and everything's been rescheduled, and you don't have to worry about these maintenance requirements again until they're due, and they'll pop up back in the what's due list when they're due. If you go to the what's due list, click on the pending button, you'll see the oil change and oil filter requirement has been rescheduled for you automatically, as has the air filter replace. So let's click on the do now. One other little tip I think I'd like to show you really quickly. Let's say we want to add it. Let's say we want to satisfy the belts replace one. Let's just do it like this: satisfy, select the requirement. So in this case, we're satisfying this belts replace requirement. And if you want to add a part, and the part doesn't already exist in your parts list because it wasn't added previously for the vehicle, so it's not going to show up here, you can just add the part right from this little window here, the add part material window. So we'll just say belt RX7, and you might want to put other information in there. You might want to put a better description, whatever, quantity, and we'll say the price for the belt was $10. $10. I'm having trouble with the little number pad here. Here we go. So this part didn't previously exist for the RX7. So this is one way you can add a new part if it's not already in your parts list. Just click OK. And you can see it says belt RX7 does not exist in your parts list. Would you like to add it? So click yes. And now the part's been added. So when you add this record, it's going to automatically add it to your parts list. So let's do that. So let's go to the maintenance list. You see the belts replaced there has been added. And if you go to your parts list, let's see here where we go. And if you go, here it is right here. This is the part now. It's now in the parts list for the RX7. So see, it's $10. And this is the part that we just added. And of course, that requirement for the belts replace has been automatically, as you see now, it's green. It's been automatically rescheduled for you. So those are some quick tips and tricks on how to satisfy maintenance requirements for your vehicle or add maintenance records, and to show you how when you satisfy things, it's automatically added to what becomes a very detailed, comprehensive vehicle maintenance log, which is great because you can print these things out. For example, if you click on the reports button, and you can see here's an example of one of the maintenance reports. You can print these reports out and maybe present it to a prospective buyer and show them how well you've taken care of your vehicle. So I love the vehicle maintenance log, and you can look back and see when things were done and see what parts were added, and et cetera, et cetera. So it's just a really powerful part of Automotive Wolf is this vehicle maintenance log that's automatically compiled for you. So that's all for today. Thanks for listening, and look on our website for more videos. Thank you for listening. Bye.